Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the WSO, Something Wonderful in Washington County. My name is Monica Merrell, one of your neighbors here in Peters Township and a member of the Board of Directors of the Washington Symphony Orchestra. On past episodes, we talked about some of the earlier concerts that were presented, and you may have seen my program with Catherine Skillings, a cellist and Peters Township High School student who performs with the WSO. In this program, we'll talk about the May concert, which will be a celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Washington Symphony Orchestra. Returning as my guests are Dr. Yugo Ikach, Artistic Director and Principal Conductor of the WSO, also Professor and Dean of the School of Graduate Studies and Research at Cal U.
And all-around nice guy.
An all-around nice guy, no matter what you've heard. And with us also is Adam Shaffer, General Manager of the WSO. So Adam, let's start with you. This year we're celebrating 20 seasons of the establishment of the WSO, the Washington Symphony. Give us a little bit of background. Who started it and when?
Well, there's a gentleman named Dave Owens. He's a musician, but that wasn't his day job, and thought that Washington needed some fine music. So he got together group of interested people, a lot of word of mouth at that time. I think there were some ads, but it's just, oh, I know the drummer, I know a flute player. So they all got together at the First Lutheran Church, June 20th, 2002, first concert. There was a goodwill offering. A lot of people liked it, and before long there was plans for a whole season's worth of material. Then second season, then audience gets a little bigger, let's move. So, went to the George Washington Hotel, went to an elementary school, ended up at Trinity High School for several years, and just kept growing the audience, growing the number of musicians on stage, adding percussion equipment to where we are today, 20 years later, and doing 4 concerts a year. And it's definitely been a great thing to be out in the community providing this music.
So in the very beginning, it was relatively small. About how many musicians do you know?
I think if you go back to that first program, you count about 36 musicians there.
Okay, and they were all volunteers. And now we have an orchestra with probably double that amount in total, I would imagine.
Yeah, it depends on the needs of the particular program. Sometimes you go need some saxophone section or different woodwinds and so forth, but I think it averages between 55 and 65 people on stage at any given time.
So Mr. Owens was the conductor for that, but then somewhere along the line, Yugo got involved.
I
so
did.
Tell us a little bit about how you managed to wheedle your way into the WSO.
Well, Dave Owens was a music lover, first and foremost.
Sure.
And he was a musician, right? An amateur musician. And but he looked at this from a business perspective, and he had a great idea for a recipe for success. And that was, at the time, no one was streaming music 20 years ago per se. They were buying CDs on Amazon, etc.
Right.
So he would look at the top 10 CDs of the crossover, classical pop crossover, and he would program based upon what was trending and what people were thinking and talking about.
So you're saying programming, meaning picking the songs the orchestra would play.
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly. So for whatever reason, if something was trending, maybe a television show picked up on this classical theme and all of a sudden everyone bought it, right? So he programmed like that. He also had the idea to never program things that were longer than 7 minutes. As a rule. Sometimes you make exceptions, because no matter how good music is, after 7 minutes, people start to look at their watches and they start to
yawn
get bored.
a little.
They yawn a little. So he brought that to the concert hall. He thought like a businessman. He called me to actually sing, not to conduct. And he says, "Oh, we're going to do the drinking song," and I performed quite a bit. Well. There was no alcoholic beverages on stage at the moment, but the singing voice, I think he had heard that maybe I would do a nice job there, and I later became very interested in fine bourbons as I got older, but that's another story. So we did the drinking song from the Student Prince. Had a great time. At the time, I was conducting the McKeesport Symphony Orchestra as their assistant conductor. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come in and conduct a guest concert?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And that's how I got in. We did a concert called Cartoon Capers, where we showed video and stills of cartoons that used very famous classical music that became
Right.
even more famous because of Tom and Jerry or
Sure.
whoever.
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny,
Elmer Fudd,
absolutely.
all those people.
Oh,
A
love
lot
it.
of people don't realize that the music in the background is actually classical.
Absolutely. I think that was my introduction to classical music was Bugs Bunny. And we did a concert of this, had a blast, and then he introduced me to the board, and I guess the rest is history.
Now, did he step down right away and then you became guest conductor, or did you kind of come in?
If I remember correctly, I did a concert in October, this student Prince number, and I may have sung something else, I can't remember now. It was almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago. But the following, the May concert, I was a guest conductor, and then the following fall, I became the conductor. Yes.
So that idea of bringing in a guest conductor then continued after you became the primary conductor. So it was sort of like paying it forward. You decided you wanted to keep doing that. So tell us about some of the other guest conductors that came on during that early part of the
Sure. We would bring
WSO.
in different guest conductors for one concert per year in our cycle. And I think it's always good to share different musical ideas with the musicians and the audience. They bring a different flavor, personality, culture to our audience. We had Efrain Amada, we had Max Ganano, we had Sam Hazo
Sam
here,
Hazo
local
from Peters
Sam Hazo,
Township.
fantastic composer, conductor, wonderful, wonderful man.
James Gourlay.
James
who is
Gourlay,
quite
River City
active
Brass
still.
Band. Again, world-class musician, and came in, did a wonderful job with us. And very interestingly, we had a guest conductor, Alejandro Pinzon, who is standing in as our concert master for this next concert in May.
Oh, really? That's wonderful. That'll be a nice return, so to speak, for him. So you said the first theme of your concert was Cartoon Capers, and they've continued to do a lot of different things over time. Was that a funny concert for you? Do you remember any really funny or embarrassing moments from your early conducting years?
Well, there was one time on the last note of the concert, I had a large gesture and my baton came out of my hands and it flew across the orchestra and it landed right in the lap of a flute player standing up, and I thought, oh, goodness me, I'm so glad that wasn't someone's eye, but things happen, and I think that's what's exciting about live performances. It is not scripted, right? Anything can happen,
right?
And there's a certain electricity between the orchestra and the audience, and they really influence one another, and anything can happen, and we're so used to pre-packaged things on television that there's no mistakes, and except the Oscars if you just watch those. but otherwise, it's that element of it is real, it is live, and that's what we do.
There you go. Well, my personal involvement with the WSO started back around 2007. I was invited to be on the board by a friend of mine, and I accepted. I thought that was wonderful. I was graciously added to the board, but it was hysterical because my family was laughing the whole time, because if anybody who knows me knows I have no musical ability whatsoever. However, I'm a music lover, and I think a little bit of a good business person, and they welcomed me, and that's my involvement with the WSO. And it's been wonderful because it did open up to me the classical and the opportunity to listen to a live orchestra. It wasn't something I did very often prior to that. So I've enjoyed it. It's been very gratifying personally for me. I would certainly say that if you're not sure, come to a concert and then you'll know whether you like that kind of music or not. Now, Adam came on board as general manager in 2015, and your focus is on basically operations, but also marketing and promotion of the WSO. Now, we tell our viewers that the WSO is a great asset in Washington County. Let's talk about the mission and what WSO tries to give back to the community.
Well, we obviously want to, present fine music and give our musicians the opportunity to play, but our audience is very important. For a lot of our audience, this may be their first experience with live classical music, and we want them to keep coming back. So we want them to have fun, Yugo doesn't stand up there in his coattails and look all serious. You know, he jokes around, talks to the audience, tries to teach them something. He always tries to sneak in a little bit of education there. And that 7-minute rule is very important too. You know, we don't want people to be bored. We mix classics and pops too, and that's another way to engage the community. A lot of similar organizations, they'll do a pops concert or a classics concert. So we mix them up because we want everyone to go to every concert. We want to show the connections.
So the mission of the WSO is to educate, entertain, and inspire. And some of the things we've talked about in the past with bringing in guest conductors, with using volunteer musicians, the student opportunities, inspiring people to enjoy different kinds of music. Those are all examples of what the WSO is trying to do in the community. We invite other community organizations to perform with us, and we try to make it a very inclusive organization.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
like I said, hit all of our points: educate, entertain, and inspire. So talk about what's coming up, going out into the community. We talked a little bit about that. You mentioned working with other groups. So we're going to be performing at the Whiskey Rebellion coming up.
Yes, on
We have a
July
partnership
8th.
with them.
Yeah, we've been there quite some time. You know, we've been performing at the Whiskey Rebellion way before my time in 2015. So that's always a great concert because it's right out downtown Washington, out in the street. You know, you can grab something to eat in town and come over. It's very informal, very good introduction to what we do. It's sort of a greatest hits program that Yugo puts together. It's some things that we've played in recent concerts. Sometimes Yugo will try out a piece that's going to debut later on. So just kind of really fun mix of program there. And sometimes we have singers, sometimes, you know, we have special guests at the summer concerts as well. So
But see, the thing for me that points out, the Whiskey Rebellion is an organization in and of itself who promote that, our history in the county, which is very important. And yet we're another nonprofit that works with them. And I think that's one of the things, the synergy of bringing together various nonprofits, arts organizations, historical organizations, bringing them together. So that's part of where we get part of our education and inspiration, fulfilling our mission. And we're going to be playing, coming out into the community, speaking of that, at Peters Township this summer.
yeah, we'll be right out here. It'll be the first time the full WSO's been here since I believe 2019.
Possibly.
So, yeah, we brought our brass quintet in 2020, but you know, this will be the full symphony again, and that's always a great place to perform. You know, people sit on the grass, sometimes bring a picnic dinner there. And yeah, that'll be out on July 20th at 7 p.m. And those are good because, you know, they're free concerts too. And
Well, and that's
people
another
come out.
point about the mission. You know, almost every organization has their mission statement, and one of the things about the WSO is that I believe we very much try to live that mission: educate, entertain, inspire.
Definitely.
Like you mentioned, free tickets to try to get more people there. You mentioned community involvement. But I think, again, just another demonstration of why we say the WSO is something wonderful in Washington County. Now let's talk about the next concert. That was our whole intent. 20 season anniversary score is the way you're calling it. So
well, score is 20 years, so that's a little play on
Fourscore,
words.
there you go. Oh, that's
we always
good.
like to sneak in some puns and
Well, that's
wordplay
good.
there. Yeah.
That's good. So as far as the concert, Yugo, give us a rundown a little bit of what we're going to hear. Will we be walking down memory lane?
Well, we will be walking down memory lane in that we're going to bring some audience and musician favorites back that we've played in
Cool.
the past.
I think everything in this concert's been played at least once before, right?
Pretty
And,
much,
yeah.
other than the concerto competition.
Yeah, true.
One of the things you mentioned about educating is we believe very strongly in cultivating a love of music with young people,
Sure.
right? And so we have a concerto competition. This year it was a French horn player. Aaron Fulton did a marvelous job. So we'll be having a student musician playing, soloing with the orchestra, and a lovely singer as well. Will be singing, a high school singer. that's a part of our mission. That's a part of what we do. So I
Right.
think it's important that we would do that on our 20th anniversary concert. But we're focusing on music that was just wonderful music that we loved over the years. We're doing Buckaroo Holiday from Aaron Copland's Rodeo. We're doing a number of movements from Carmen, the opera Carmen, the Carmen Suite number 1 and number 2. We're picking the best hits out of that people love.
So you brought us a clip or two?
We have. We brought some community involvement. We actually have the older brother of Aaron Fulton, which is Ryan Fulton, won this competition probably 5 years ago. And he went on to go to Duquesne University, and he just did his senior recital. And
Nice.
now he's going to graduate school. And it's nice to take part in a young person's career path, those that are going to go on and be music teachers or professional musicians. So yeah, this is, I believe it's a Haydn concerto, if I remember correctly, from some years ago.
So let's listen for a few minutes. We're going to play a clip of one of the music performances that we're going to hear coming up for the Washington Symphony 20th anniversary season. So Yugo, that was a preview, so to speak, of one of the songs that they're going to be performing. Could you tell which one that was?
Yes. Well, we won't be performing that piece.
Okay.
But it was indicative of a student player playing
Okay.
a movement from a concerto with the orchestra backing them up.
Got it.
So we give these young musicians a chance to be out front, have the orchestra back them up, and there also is a nice little stipend that goes along, or a scholarship that goes with that. But that kind of excitement, to be in front of an orchestra, is, as corny as it may sound, it's true. It's life-changing.
Yes.
You just inspire that young musician. You give him the encouragement, or her the encouragement, to keep studying and go forward in their music studies. And that's what we'll be doing at this concert.
So we have a second clip of an example of what we're going to perform at the anniversary concert. So if we could roll the second clip to give the viewers a taste again of what they might be able to look forward to. So Yugo, that clip was really energetic. Tell us who was performing in that.
Well, that was the Washington Community Theater,
Cool.
and they are a regular partner with us. We probably bring them on board once every 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a staple over the years of our 20 years. They visit us a number of times. I think that
Right.
was a little snippet from Mary Poppins, and that's always a lot of fun.
So let's go back one thing you mentioned earlier. We showed a clip of a young artist, instrumentalist who had won the competition and who had performed. We have another young artist, again, you mentioned Aaron Fulton on French horn. We started a while back doing a vocalist competition, and that has become very successful too. And we have a young lady, actually from Peters Township, who is going to be the featured vocalist, Alexandra, and I'm going to see if I can say her name correctly.
Good Serbian name.
Milkovic.
There you go.
Milkovic, who will be our vocalist. Do you know yet what she's singing?
Yes, she'll be singing "Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again" from Phantom of the Opera.
Wonderful.
Did
That's
a marvelous
beautiful
job,
song.
yes, at her
Beautiful
audition.
song. So again, another example. The WSO wants to wrap their arms around the community and bring in as many people as possible. So congratulations to those young, the instrumentalist and the vocalist, and we'll look forward to coming and hearing them.
Yeah, and you say wrap your arms around the community, absolutely. But in many ways, we are the community. That's
Absolutely.
what's beautiful
You
about
represent the community. It was interesting. I did look back in history, and the Young Artist competition started around 2012, I think. And the first winner was a young lady, an instrumentalist, a pianist. And there have been several winners over the years. It's been interesting, as you said, to see how they then progress with their musical career.
Absolutely. I think maybe what we might want to do someday is actually track every one of those winners and
There
see
you
what
go.
they're doing nowadays. Because, like we said, many of them go on to music school, and they will be the new music teachers in the area.
Absolutely.
And it's great to take some small part in that.
I think you're right. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. So if any of you out there know anyone, please, look us up. One of the other things about the WSO is the number of other people who are non-musicians who get involved. As a member of the board, as I told you earlier, I'm not musical in any way, shape, or form. But it takes more than that. So we've really been fortunate about the community members who have joined the board. I've been just thrilled to be involved with some of the wonderful people who have. And we can't name everyone over the 20 years, but just a great thank you for the people who have been willing to serve on the board and support the WSO in that particular vein. Now let's get down to the business, Adam. Tell us about how to get tickets, the specifics about the concert. Give people a rundown on that.
Well, this has been a odd year for us because we only had 3 concerts instead of 4 because of the pandemic shortening the season, and we're going to be at we're going to change locations again. This time we're going to be at the Washington County Fairgrounds. There'll be one performance of this concert on May 7th, 2002, and starting at 7:30 p.m. But there's plenty of room at the fairgrounds. Very nice, big, accessible venue. You can get tickets washsim.org on our website. And you can also get them right here in Peters Township at Peters Township Public Library. They're going to be on sale soon. And you can always get them at the door as well.
Citizens Library.
Citizens Library in Washington, sure.
And this is another good concert to bring a group to. Again, if you haven't heard the WSO, think about coming. Bring your family, bring a little group. There are discounts for groups of 8 or more. It gives you an idea of the kind of music the WSO presents. So really think about it, because it would be a nice evening out. It's the day before Mother's Day, so this would be a nice Mother's Day present. Take her to dinner, bring her to the symphony, or your grandmother or your mother figure, or...
A lot of people come to our concerts to socialize. You go to a big event in Pittsburgh, people might start getting in there 10, 15 minutes before the concert. We have people show up 90 minutes before the concert and talk to their friends, hang out in the lobby. They want to, sit with their friends, so they want to get the best seat. We also have, an intermission too. It's always really fun. We have some treats out for the audience and some water, and they mill around and talk to each other. And then there's also socializing at the end too. Again, something you might not get at a lot of other performances is Yugo always comes out and
makes his presence known.
Yeah, talks to the audience. Some of our musicians stand out there, and it's fun, because it's just you can ask questions, you can shake his hand, and that doesn't happen everywhere, but because we have that small town atmosphere, and we want to talk.
Absolutely. And when you go to a concert in Pittsburgh, that's Pittsburgh, right? Mm-hmm. When you come here, it's us. Like, I think all of us who come to the shows, or I even said shows instead of the concerts, because it really is, it's like a variety show in many ways.
Right.
But there's an ability to take ownership over it, because you are a part of it. If you're in Washington County, this is your Washington Symphony Orchestra. Own it, enjoy it, be a part of it.
Well, and you made a comment before about the number of people who come consistently. And we want to thank those patrons who do that, who come year after year and who support the WSO. We're getting close to the end here. I wanted to just wrap up a little bit. Remind people we're celebrating the 20th season for the Washington Symphony Orchestra. Concerts May 7th at the Washington Pavilion.
Well, it's at the Washington County Fairgrounds.
Washington County Fair.
Yeah, Pavilion, some people might think
Sorry,
downtown
Washington
Washington.
County
We'll be there
Fairgrounds.
July 8th, but we'll be at the Fairgrounds on May 20th.
There you go. So let's
On May 7th. Now I'm mixed up, but anyways.
There you go. May 7th, the Washington County Fairgrounds, 7:30 p.m. Bring your family. We're going to play off with a clip of other music, but let us remind you, we say that WSO is something wonderful in Washington County. It's not just what we think. We think we've proved that over the 20 years. Please think about coming out to hear the WSO. Give yourself some enjoyment, and we'll play off with a music clip, another example of what they'll be performing.
We'll actually be playing this at the concert.
Okay.
It is from Stravinsky's Firebird. Very exciting stuff.
Very good. Thank you very much for joining us again for this episode. Think about coming out to a concert. You won't be disappointed.